relax. That gentle word is not just an invitation. It's a command from the higher intelligence that governs all things. You do not need to strive, to worry, or to push. In fact, all your efforting only slows the arrival of what is already yours by divine right. The universe is not waiting for you to fight harder. It is waiting for you to become still. In stillness, your inner world aligns with the unseen pattern of fulfillment. Imagination is the secret doorway. What you feel inwardly as true becomes your outer experience. You are not begging life to be kind to you. You are simply receiving what you have already assumed to be yours in consciousness. What you persistently accept as real within must take form. There is no other law. It is done unto you as you believe. Relaxation is faith. When you relax, you are saying, I know it's done. You do not doubt the seed planted in the soil. You water it, you nurture it, but you do not dig it up each day to see if it has grown. So it is with your desires. They are seeds planted in the fertile ground of your imagination. The moment you accepted them as already fulfilled, the universe began to move all things into place. You do not need to know the how. Leave the how to the higher order. Your job is only to accept, to feel, and to know that it is so. The bridges will appear, the steps will be revealed, events will unfold in ways your reasoning mind could never predict. People will enter your life, doors will open, the world will shift itself to reflect your inner state. Let go of the tension. Tension is the child of doubt, and doubt only arises when we believe the outer world is more real than the inner one. But the outer is only a shadow. Your imagination is the light that casts it. When you relax, you turn back to the source, and the shadow obeys. Right now, in this very moment, everything you have longed for is forming in unseen realms. It is not far, it is not difficult, it is not delayed. It is ready to come into view the moment you allow it. So allow. Rest in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Walk and talk and breathe from that state. Do not seek confirmation from the world. Create it within, and the world will confirm it. The universe is not cruel. It does not tease. It does not withhold. It is lavish, generous, overflowing, and it is already yours. Relax, receive. To relax is not to give up. It is to step into the highest form of belief. When you truly believe something is done, you stop trying to make it happen. You don't beg, you don't chase, you don't force. You allow. Relaxation is the physical, emotional, and spiritual evidence that your faith is alive and working. When you relax, you tell the universe, I trust you. I know my desire is already on its way. That is the power of inner surrender, not to abandon your desire, but to release the anxiety that blocks it. Anxiety is rooted in separation. When you feel the need to control or force an outcome, it's because you've disconnected from the awareness that the power that creates worlds is already at work on your behalf. You've momentarily forgotten that your imagination is the blueprint and your assumption is the builder. But when you come back to your center and allow yourself to breathe, to settle into stillness, you become a channel through which the unseen becomes seen. Relaxation doesn't delay the process, it activates it. You must understand that trying too hard is a signal to the universe that you do not yet believe. If you believed that what you imagined was already yours, would you be in a state of panic? Would you be watching the clock? Would you be refreshing your phone, begging for signs? No, you would smile to yourself, knowing the arrangement is already set. You would walk with the confidence of someone who has already received. You would rest. When the body is tense, when the mind is racing, when your emotions are bouncing between doubt and desperation, you are not in alignment with your desire. You are in alignment with the absence of it. That is why relaxation is not just a mood, it is a spiritual alignment. It says, I accept, I allow, I surrender to the unseen forces that are wiser and more powerful than I can comprehend. This is not laziness, it is deep intelligence. It is the quiet knowing that the universe does not operate on fear, but on faith. You can observe this principle in nature. The tree does not worry if the fruit will appear, the flower does not force its bloom, the seed does not question the soil. All of nature operates in harmony with divine timing because it trusts the process of growth. You are not separate from that intelligence. You are one with it. And so you too must learn to relax into your becoming. Your desires are not foreign. They are echoes of what you already have in the invisible. Relaxation is how you let it come forth into visibility. When you live from the end, from the place where the desire is already fulfilled, your whole being changes. The tension in your shoulders drops. The worry in your eyes fades. Your breath becomes deeper. You move slower, more intentionally, more gracefully. That is what happens when you shift from trying to having. And that shift doesn't require effort. It requires a decision. A decision to trust what you cannot yet see. A decision to live as though it were already done. The outer world responds not to what you want, but to what you are being. If you are being desperate, you invite more lack. If you are being peaceful, you invite more clarity. If you are being grateful, you call in more to be thankful for. And if you are being relaxed, you signal to the universe that the thing you want is no longer separate from you. It is already a part of your reality. Relaxation is not passive, it is active faith. It is the decision to drop resistance. It is the refusal to argue with what is or to obsess over what's coming. It is presence. And in that presence, in that stillness, your awareness expands. You begin to see more clearly. You begin to sense opportunities you were blind to before. You begin to feel the gentle nudges of intuition. Those nudges are always there, but tension blocks them. Relaxation reveals them. There is a current always flowing in the direction of your highest good. You can either swim against it with fear or float with it in trust. When you float, when you rest, when you let go of the need to control the outcome, you move with grace. You align with the rhythm of the universe, and in that alignment, everything accelerates. What seemed far away becomes close. What seemed delayed arrives swiftly. What once felt impossible unfolds with ease. You are not trying to make something happen. You are preparing yourself to receive what is already trying to reach you. And the greatest preparation is not struggle, it is softness. It is the willingness to believe that you are worthy, that you are safe, that life is on your side. This belief, when truly accepted, expresses itself in the body as relaxation. Your muscles relax, your heart rate settles, your thoughts stop racing, and in that state, you become magnetic. You cannot fake this. You cannot pretend to relax while holding fear in your heart. That is why true relaxation starts within. It begins with a deep shift in consciousness, from wanting to knowing. When you know, truly know, that the unseen reality is more real than the temporary illusion of lack, you relax, not because you gave up, but because you already have it. You don't need to fight anymore. You simply open your hands to receive. This is the art of surrender, the mastery of assumption. To feel as though you have already received is to act in harmony with the truth. And the truth is, nothing is withheld from you. All things are available now. All things are ready now. Your only task is to enter the state where you are ready to claim them, not through pressure, but through peace. Not through fear, but through faith. Not through striving, but through stillness. When you relax, you enter that sacred place of allowance. You stop resisting what is and start allowing what can be. And the moment you do, the energy shifts. You no longer look to the world for evidence. You know the world will catch up to the reality you now hold within. This is the power of conscious creation. This is the frequency where miracles unfold. And it is yours. It has always been yours. The moment you choose to relax, you choose to remember. Imagination is not a fleeting daydream or idle fantasy. It is the creative power that shapes your world. Everything you see around you began first as an image, a thought, a feeling within someone's mind. The chair you sit on, the room you are in, the life you are living. Each of these was once unseen until someone dared to imagine it and persist in that vision. Your imagination is not separate from reality. It is reality in its first and truest form. What you accept as real within, what you dwell on with feeling, must eventually appear in your external world. That is the law. This is not a metaphor. It is not poetic language. It is the way the universe operates. The inner world leads and the outer world follows. That is why you are never a victim of circumstance. You are always the creator, whether you know it or not. You cannot live beyond your assumptions. You cannot receive what you have not first accepted in your imagination. Life mirrors back to you the emotional images you entertain most frequently, not what you wish for casually, but what you feel to be true. When you imagine something with deep emotion, when you live from the end and feel the state of the wish fulfilled, you are planting a seed in the fabric of reality. That seed must grow. It is nourished by your persistence, your belief, and most importantly, your emotional involvement. Thought alone is not enough. It must be fused with feeling. Feeling is the secret ingredient that transforms a simple idea into a living, breathing reality. This is why you must be selective with the inner conversations you hold. Every thought you repeat, every scene you replay, every fear you entertain, these are all creative acts. They are instructions to the universe, and the universe does not question your orders. It reflects them. So if you continually imagine rejection, failure, or lack, do not be surprised when these things appear. They are only the harvest of what you have accepted as real within yourself. But the good news is, you can change your inner world at any time. And when you do, your outer world must change with it. You do not need to beg the universe. You do not need to wait for permission or search for signs. You only need to dare to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled and remain loyal to that assumption. That is your only work. The moment you imagine it, the moment you feel it as real, the universe begins to rearrange itself around your new state. People, opportunities, events, all of these begin to shift and align themselves with your inner chain. You do not have to know how. You only have to know that it is done. The mind, left unchecked, will want to analyze, question, and doubt. It will look for logic and reason, but imagination transcends reason. Imagination is the language of the divine. It is not bound by past experiences, current limitations, or the opinions of others. It creates from the infinite. When you use it consciously, you rise above circumstances. You no longer react to life, you direct it. To imagine is to declare, I am the author of my story. I am not waiting for life to tell me who I am deciding now. And that decision, once felt with conviction, becomes your new reality. But you must live from it, not toward it. You must walk as though it is already yours. You must think, speak, and act from that new state of being. And when doubt arises, as it often will, you return again and again to your imagination, to the scene you have chosen, to the feeling you have claimed. Persistence is key. One moment of imagining is powerful, but it is your ongoing relationship with the desired state that brings it into form. Every time you return to that inner scene, every time you feel the joy, relief, or love of your fulfilled desire, you are reinforcing the reality of it. And eventually the outer world must comply. It is bound by law to reflect the dominant state you hold within. Imagination is not escapism. It is the most responsible act you can perform. It is your way of aligning with the deeper truth, that you are not a passive observer of reality, but the creator of it. And when you accept this truth, you no longer live in reaction to the world. You live in response to your vision. You become immune to external noise because your inner world becomes more vivid, more compelling, more real than anything outside of you. The world outside may try to contradict your inner assumption. It may present temporary facts that appear to say otherwise. But those are echoes of your past thinking. They are not permanent. They are not final. They are simply fading reflections of a former state. Your new state, once claimed and persisted in, will overshadow and dissolve them. That is the power you hold. That is the authority of your imagination. You were never meant to beg life for scraps of happiness. You were meant to command it through vision, not through force, but through alignment. The moment you see it within and feel it as true, life begins to respond. It may not happen in the way you expect. It may not come through the person you had in mind, but it will come. The form may differ, but the essence will match your inner assumption. You must become faithful to your vision, not when it's easy, not only when the evidence appears, but especially when nothing yet has changed. That is where the transformation begins. To imagine in the absence of results is to plant the seeds of miracles. It is to prove that your reality is governed not by what you see, but by what you believe. And the more you practice this, the more natural it becomes. It stops feeling like effort and starts feeling like truth. So sit quietly, close your eyes, and go there, into the scene of your fulfilled desire. Hear the sounds, see the details, feel the joy, the gratitude, the ease. Let it become real to you. Let it become your dwelling place. And when you open your eyes, carry that feeling with you. Let it influence your thoughts, your speech, your posture. Let it color the way you move through the world. For that feeling is the seed, and from it all things grow. There is a divine rhythm to the universe, a timing that unfolds with absolute perfection, beyond the reach of human control. When you align yourself with this rhythm, you no longer push, strain, or strive in desperation. You trust. You understand that your desire, once imagined and accepted as true, is already on its way. You relax into the certainty that what is yours is coming not because of effort, but because of alignment. The timing is never in your hands. The manifestation is the natural result of a shift in consciousness, and it comes precisely when it should. There is no delay in the divine, only preparation. When you feel you are waiting, you are not waiting on life, you are waiting on yourself to fully embody the state of the wish fulfilled. The mind is conditioned to impatience. It wants to see instant results. It wants proof, signs, and evidence. It demands reassurance because it does not yet understand that the unseen is more real than the seen. The unseen is the cause, the seen is the effect. When you grasp this, you cease the need to beg or chase. You enter into a quiet confidence, an inner knowing that what has been impressed upon the subconscious must be expressed in the world of form. This is law. It is not negotiable. It is not up for debate. It is the very foundation of existence. As within, so without. You must come to the place where you no longer ask, when will it come, but rather say, it is already mine. And this is not delusion, it is truth in its highest form. You do not possess the power to know the exact moment the seed will break through the soil, but you trust the process. You know that what you planted must grow. It cannot do otherwise. But if you dig it up to check its progress, if you doubt and waver, if you change the image or focus on the absence, you interfere with the natural unfolding. Patience is not passive. It is active faith. It is inner stillness. It is the refusal to be moved by what is currently visible. The delay is never denial. The time it takes is never wasted. In the silence, in the space between the imagining and the appearing, you are being prepared to receive what you have already claimed. The consciousness required to hold your desire is being built. The inner scaffolding is forming. And while it seems like nothing is happening, the universe is reordering itself, shifting people, situations, and opportunities to bring you into alignment with your imagined state. Your only task is to stay faithful, to live each day as though it is already done, to act not from the state of seeking, but from the state of fulfillment. The impatience you feel is only the echo of disbelief. It is the whisper of the old self, the version of you who believed in effort over ease, force over flow. That self must be quieted, not through willpower, but through presence. You silence it by returning again and again to the vision, not as a hope, but as a memory. Not as something distant, but as something real, something known, something lived. You go there in your mind, and you dwell there in your feeling. And in doing so, you collapse time. You dissolve the illusion of waiting. There is no time in imagination. What you assume to be true now is true now, regardless of appearances. When you step into that place and make it your home, life mirrors it back with breathtaking accuracy. But you must stop looking for confirmation outside of yourself. The outside world is always playing catch-up. It is always the last to know. The inner reality is the first cause, the primary source. When you believe in that, when you trust the unseen more than the seen, you unlock the mystery of perfect timing. Many abandon their vision too soon. They allow the passing of days or the lack of evidence to convince them that nothing is happening. But this is the great illusion. Life always responds to belief. There is no such thing as an unanswered desire, only a prematurely abandoned one. The moment you let go of the inner state and return to the old way of thinking, you slow the unfolding. you replant the old seed. But when you persist, when you refuse to give your attention to anything that contradicts your vision, you align with divine speed. It is not speed in terms of minutes or days, it is speed in terms of alignment. When you are fully aligned with the reality you have imagined, there is no time left to wait. You are living from it now, and so the world must catch up. The outer manifestation becomes inevitable, not because you forced it, but because you matched it. That is the key. The world bends to your assumption, not the other way around. This is why you must guard your mind. You must protect the feeling of the wish fulfilled as though it were a treasure, because it is. It is the seed of your new life. It is the blueprint. And nothing matters more than your loyalty to that feeling. Even when the world gives you reason to doubt, you return inward. Even when you feel anxious or unsure, you breathe and you remember. You remind yourself, it is already done. And this remembering is not imagination. It is creation. It is the birth of the new state. If you could see what is happening behind the scenes, you would never doubt again. If you could glimpse the orchestration, the divine coordination of people and events, the movement of unseen forces aligning just for you, your heart would overflow with peace. But this peace does not come from knowing every step. It comes from knowing the end. When the end is secure, the steps are irrelevant. When the outcome is certain, the process becomes a joy. You relax, not because you've given up, but because you've given in to the truth that all things are working together for your good. Even delays are blessings in disguise. Even the quiet moments are filled with invisible progress. You do not need to manipulate or micromanage. You only need to dwell in the feeling of the outcome and trust the unfolding. You live as if it's already yours, and in doing so, you draw it closer with every breath. Time bends to conviction. Circumstances yield to certainty. And when your inner state becomes immovable, when it becomes more real to you than the outer world, then the outer world must conform. This is the quiet magic of surrender. Not surrender in defeat, but surrender in faith. You release the need to make it happen, and you let it happen. You allow the universe to do its work, and you do yours, imagining, feeling, believing, and walking as one who already has. You are not waiting on life. Life is responding to you. The moment you shift, life shifts. The moment you know, life knows. The outer echoes the inner, and when the inner becomes still, confident and sure, the outer reflects that calm in due time. Not rushed, not delayed, but right on time. Everything is responding to you, not to your words, not to your outer actions, but to your inner state. The universe is not moved by appearances, it is moved by assumption. Every moment you are emitting a signal, a silent command rooted in how you see yourself in the world around you. That command does not come from hope, nor from trying harder, but from being. When you enter the state of being, the state of already having, already receiving, already becoming, you shift your reality. You are not trying to attract what you want, you are becoming it. And in becoming, you draw it to you effortlessly, because what you are internally must be mirrored externally. This is the divine law of consciousness. Your world is not happening to you, it is happening through you. All things are a reflection of the ideas you carry, the beliefs you nurture, and the feelings you allow to grow. You may not speak these things aloud, but the energy of them speaks volumes. The law does not care whether you are conscious of what you radiate or not, it simply responds. And so, the only true task is to become deeply aware of what you are assuming, moment by moment, and to choose deliberately the assumption that reflects your desire fulfilled. The greatest illusion is the belief that something outside of you holds the power, that some external force or situation must change before you can feel peace, joy, or success. But the truth is, all outer conditions are the effect, not the cause. The cause is always within you. The shift is always internal. You are not reacting to the world is reacting to you. This is why circumstances change so quickly when you change. This is why opportunities appear when you stop searching and start believing. This is why people treat you differently when you begin to see yourself differently. Everything is a mirror, waiting to reflect your inner knowing. Do not confuse persistence with effort. You are not here to struggle your way to a new reality. You are here to assume it, accept it, embody it, and then watch the outer world transform as a result. When you truly live, in the end, when your inner conversations and emotional tones match the reality you've chosen, then your manifestation is not something you chase, but something you welcome. It becomes as natural as breathing because you are no longer trying to become, you already are. The one who feels abundant, even in a room with empty pockets, becomes rich. The one who feels loved, even in solitude, draws love with ease. The one who walks with confidence, even when the outer results are small, becomes great. It is never about what you have right now. It is about what you are conscious of being. If you walk as one who has received, the universe has no choice but to deliver. It must mirror your assumption. It must reflect your conviction. It must match your energy, not because it is generous, but because it is precise. There is no guesswork in this law. It is not personal. It simply reflects. If you hold the belief that good things take time and effort, you will experience a reality where things delay and struggle. If you believe you are undeserving, life will present you with confirmations of lack. But the moment you shift inwardly, the moment you choose a new identity, a new state of consciousness, everything begins to reconfigure. The outer world rearranges to match the frequency you have selected. You do not need to force it. You need only feel it. Your attention is the most powerful creative tool you have. Wherever you place it, you give it life. If you dwell in fear, you feed it. If you linger in doubt, you sustain it. But if you remain steadfast in your vision, if you occupy the feeling of your desire fulfilled and refuse to be shaken, then all things will move to reflect that inner conviction, not because you earned it through toil, but because you chose it through consciousness. Let go of the need to see results to believe. It is your belief that creates the results. Let go of the need for signs. The sign is within you. It is the feeling that tells you, this is real, this is true, this is mine. And when that inner knowing is more real to you than the world of appearances, then the world of appearances will transform. The outer must yield to the inner. This is the law. This is the secret. This is the doorway through which all manifestation flows. You are the operant power. There is no other. Nothing is happening without your permission. Not the events, not the delays, not the breakthroughs. All of it is permitted or denied by the assumptions you hold. So if something is missing, it is not because the universe is withholding. It is because your inner state is still waiting instead of being. Become it now. Walk in it now. Feel it now. And in doing so, you shift everything. The people you need, the opportunities, the resources. They will find you because they must. They are drawn to your vibration like iron to a magnet. You do not chase, you attract. You do not wait, you assume. Every time you imagine your desire and feel the reality of it, you are planting a seed. That seed grows in the soil of your assumption. If you continue to nourish it with faith, confidence, and inner peace, it must grow. But if you dig it up with worry, doubt, or impatience, you interrupt the process. You do not need to look for results every day. You need to live from the end every day. That is your job. The manifestation will take care of itself. There is no magic outside of you. The magic is within you, within your ability to persist in a state that contradicts what the eyes see. This is not foolishness, it is mastery. To walk as one who has, when the world says you have not, is to command the elements. It is to participate in the divine order. It is to declare through being what must come, and it does come. It always comes. Not in response to fear, but in response to faith. Not because you begged, but because you believed. Not because you were lucky, but because you aligned. You were never meant to strive. You are meant to create. And creation begins within, not with effort, but with feeling. Not with repetition, but with embodiment. Your job is not to make it happen. Your job is to feel it as real. Everything else unfolds from there. To relax is not to give up. To relax is to release resistance. It is to soften your grip and allow what is already yours to move toward you. The assumption of already having is a quiet place. It is still, not frantic. It does not grasp. It does not strain. It simply knows. When you truly believe something is yours, you no longer chase it. You no longer feel the need to convince others or even yourself. You rest in it. And that rest, that ease, is a signal to the universe that you are ready to receive. There is no effort in alignment. You do not force a flower to bloom. You do not pull the sun across the sky. Yet the flower blossoms, the sun rises, and everything moves with precision and harmony. When you relax, you are not being passive. You are entering the rhythm of life. You are remembering that your part is to assume, to feel, to know, and then to let the universe deliver it in ways your mind cannot predict. What the logical mind struggles to calculate, the inner being knows instinctively. You are not creating from scratch. You are selecting from a field of infinite possibilities. And the selection is made through feeling, not force. Relaxing is a radical act of faith. It is choosing to believe that the invisible is more real than the visible, that the unseen is taking shape even now, that what is meant for you cannot miss you. The moment you relax into that, the pressure dissolves, the timelines collapse, the urgency vanishes, and you become a magnet, not through action, but through alignment. This is not laziness, this is mastery. It is the mastery of energy, the mastery of awareness, the mastery of choosing your inner state above all else. You are not meant to spend your life in resistance, battling circumstances or chasing after outcomes. You are meant to dwell in a state of being that reflects your desire fulfilled. That state is not anxious. It does not wonder how or when or if. It simply knows. It breathes deeply. It stands still. It smiles because it is already done. The one who knows how to rest in the assumption, who remains unmoved by what appears to be missing, is the one who receives it all. The more you can relax, the more clearly you can see. The more you can detach from the outcome, the faster the outcome will arrive. Every thought that says you must do more, push harder, strive further, is a thought rooted in lack. But the feeling of already having is calm, it is silent, it is complete. When you relax, you return to wholeness. You stop leaking energy into the future, you withdraw your power from doubt, and in doing so you consolidate your vibration. You become coherent, and in that coherence, the universe responds with precision. Things move, doors open, people appear, opportunities fall into place. Not because you forced them, but because you allowed them. The art of manifesting is not about doing more, it is about being more aligned. And alignment is ease. Alignment is grace. Alignment is knowing that you are the operant power, that nothing has to change outside before you feel different inside. The inner shift is the cause, and the outer result is the effect. But this can only become real to you when you let go of the addiction to struggle, to proving, to waiting. The moment you relax, you access the version of you that already has it. And that version does not panic, it does not obsess, it does not beg, it simply is. Relaxing into the assumption is like tuning an instrument. It is the act of becoming so still, so centered, that you harmonize with the frequency of your desire. It is not a performance, it is a return to the truth that you are not separate from the thing you seek. You are one with it. You are it. And from that place, you can simply receive. Not in desperation, not in confusion, but in knowing, in peace, in flow. When you let go, you are not losing control. You are stepping into your true power. The one who can rest in the unseen is the one who understands creation. Creation is finished. All possibilities already exist. Your work is not to make it happen. It is to choose it, to dwell in it, to feel it, and then to relax. The more you trust, the less you need to micromanage. The more you believe, the less you need to manipulate. The more you assume, the less you need to explain. Relaxing is how you say yes to the universe. It is how you open your hands to receive. You are not behind. You are not missing anything. You are not forgotten. The very moment you feel it as real, you set a chain of events in motion that cannot be undone, unless you undo it through fear, doubt, or resistance. But when you remain relaxed, even when nothing has yet shown up, you are demonstrating mastery. You are living in the end. You are saying, I don't need to see it to believe it. I believe it and therefore I will see it. Letting go of the outcome is not letting go of the desire. It is letting go of the need. It is knowing that you are worthy and that worthiness does not require validation. It is knowing that the vision came to you because it already belongs to you. And in relaxing, you remove the static, the interference, the friction. You create space, and in that space, the universe delivers. What you want is not far. It is close, it is here. But it is only visible through the lens of trust. And trust is silent. Trust is soft. Trust is still. You cannot fake relaxation. The body knows, the heart knows, the universe knows. So go within, close your eyes, feel it, rest in it, let it rise in you, until the feeling is stronger than the absence, until the joy of knowing is greater than the fear of not seeing. That is the secret, to relax, and in relaxing, to become. To surrender, not to the world, but to the truth that all you desire is already yours. To relax into that truth is to open the gates, not with effort, with ease. The moment you surrender your feverish need to figure everything out, you begin to taste the freedom that was always yours. Life was never meant to be lived in a constant state of mental struggle. You are not here to carry the entire weight of your future in your thoughts. The power you seek, the abundance you desire, and the clarity you long for, none of these are found in anxious thinking. They arise in the stillness, in that sacred pause where you stop chasing and begin receiving. You have been taught to believe that more effort, more planning, more control will bring results. But what if the opposite is true? What if the greatest force in the universe responds not to your struggle, but to your stillness? What if everything you're chasing is chasing you, waiting for the moment you become still enough to let it catch up to you? Stillness is not weakness. Stillness is the secret code that unlocks the floodgates of manifestation. When you quiet your mind and release the grip of frantic thought, you open a space, an invisible field where your true self begins to speak. And in that place, the world bends to your inner command. You don't manifest by begging. You don't receive by worrying. You attract by becoming. And becoming requires rest. Not just rest of the body, but rest of the inner chatter, the endless questions, the need to control. You already are everything you desire. The moment you believe that and relax into that knowing, the world rearranges to reflect it. This isn't about pretending. It's about stopping long enough to remember. You are not waiting for blessings to arrive. They are waiting for you to stop blocking them with your resistance. And resistance often hides behind thinking too much, analyzing too long, doubting too deeply. So be bold. Stop thinking. Yes, stop thinking. Step into that sacred silence where your desires are already fulfilled. Feel what it would feel like if there was nothing left to fix, nothing left to earn, nothing missing from your life. Breathe into that reality. Let it fill your chest with peace. Let it soften your nervous system. In that inner state, you are no longer asking life to bring you something. You are allowing it to bring what's already yours. You are not a machine that needs constant mental programming. You are a spiritual being whose world is shaped by belief, not by logic. When you rest from your worries, you shift from the intellect to the divine imagination. And imagination is the womb of reality. Everything begins there. When you cease your anxious thinking, you step back into the creative center of your being. You stop reacting to life and begin to author it. You do not need to explain how it will happen. Let go of the addiction to explanation. That's the old self, desperately clinging to control. But the new you, the one that already has everything, trusts the unseen, lives in the invisible, and rests in the promise that it is already done. So relax. Not because life is perfect, but because it doesn't need to be for you to receive. Stop thinking. Not because thought is bad, but because thought has taken you far enough and now it's time for surrender. Let go. Enter the state where your wish is fulfilled, not by force, but by faith. Live from that inner knowing, and everything else will follow like a shadow. There is a sacred place within you, untouched by noise, beyond the reach of doubt, and free from the ceaseless chatter of the world. It is in this stillness that the true power to manifest arises. Not in striving, not in effort, not in trying to manipulate the outer world, but in the quiet center of your being. Stillness is not an absence of movement, it is the presence of alignment. It is where you remember who you truly are. Pure awareness, one with the infinite, already connected to everything you desire. The world has convinced you that you must hustle, push, grind, and calculate in order to get ahead. But the truth is the opposite. You manifest not by force but by consciousness, not by activity but by stillness. When you are still, you become like a mirror. You reflect the reality you have chosen within. In the chaos of thought, you cloud the mirror with fears and projections. But when the water is calm, the reflection becomes perfect. That reflection is your manifestation. You do not need to chase it. You need only to become quiet enough to allow it to appear. The universe is not deaf to your dreams. It hears you clearly, but it cannot deliver while you are screaming instructions from a place of fear. It delivers in silence, when your inner state says, I already have it. That stillness is your true power. People often mistake action for creation, but the most powerful acts are invisible. They happen in consciousness. To relax into stillness is not to do nothing. It is to do everything at the highest level. It is to dwell in the end result, to step into the state of the wish fulfilled, to no longer yearn but to assume. That assumption is like a seed planted in silence. You don't dig it up every 5 minutes to see if it's growing. You rest in knowing. You water it with faith. You protect it with stillness. And before long, what was once invisible becomes visible. What was once felt only in the imagination begins to show itself in the outer world. The ones who create effortlessly are not the loudest, not the busiest. They are the stillest. They are the ones who have mastered the art of inner calm, who understand that everything is already theirs the moment they accept it inwardly. They have no need to convince, to prove, to chase. Their stillness is not passive, it is creative. It is a divine invitation for life to rise up and meet them. They do not act out of desperation, but from knowing. They do not ask with pleading hearts, but with a quiet certainty that what they imagine is already real. You must begin to understand the sacredness of your inner world. It is the canvas on which the future is painted. If your inner world is in constant motion, filled with doubt, anxiety, worry, how can the masterpiece be revealed? The brush can only move with precision in stillness. The moment you stop reacting to life and start resting in your chosen end, the world begins to respond. It is not reacting to your needs or wants. It is responding to your inner acceptance, to your stillness. You do not have to chase after love, wealth, success, or peace. These things chase those who are still enough to receive them. The idea that you must be constantly thinking, solving, or worrying is a false god. It will never bring you the peace or the results you crave. You are not rewarded for how much you struggle, but for how deeply you trust. Stillness is the language of trust. It says, I no longer need to figure this out because it is already mine. In that moment, you align with the truth that creation is finished. Everything you could ever want already exists in the unseen. Your role is not to create it from nothing, but to move into the dimension where it already is. That movement does not happen through physical travel. It happens in consciousness, and that requires stillness. Stillness is not a retreat from life. It is how you take control of it. While the world runs in circles, you sit quietly and claim the end result in your imagination. And the moment you feel it real, the universe begins to reorganize itself around your assumption. But you must not disturb the process with your doubts. You must not uproot the seed with your anxious thinking. Remain still. Remain faithful. Let the stillness speak louder than the noise. In the silence of your soul, you become one with the outcome. And once you become one with it inwardly, it must appear outwardly. You were never meant to chase after things. You were meant to attract them by your inner state. Stillness is how you align with that truth. It is the act of becoming before becoming. It is the moment you say to life, I trust. And trust is not proven by declarations. It is proven by your ability to relax. To be still is to say, I am done doubting. It is to withdraw energy from fear and give it to faith. It is to take your attention away from what is lacking and place it firmly on what is already done. And as you do, something incredible begins to happen. Your world changes, not because you change the outer world, but because you change the level from which you observe it. Stillness elevates you into the realm where your desire already lives. From that place, you do not need to make things happen. They come to you as if drawn by a magnetic force. That force is your alignment. It is your stillness. It is your quiet, unwavering inner knowing that says, I already have it. I already am it. I already live it. And the world, being a perfect mirror, must reflect it back to you. The mind is a powerful tool, but it can easily become your greatest obstacle if not understood. Most people live under the illusion that thinking about a problem brings them closer to a solution. They assume that the more they analyze, the more control they gain. But thinking, when it becomes repetitive and anxious, does not serve as a bridge to clarity. It becomes a wall. And behind that wall stands everything you've ever wanted, patiently waiting for you to stop blocking the flow with your own resistance. Thinking, especially when rooted in fear or doubt, is the very force that keeps you tethered to what you don't want. You replay conversations, project worst-case scenarios, and dissect the same situation 1,000 ways, as if clarity will magically appear through mental exhaustion. But clarity is not a product of mental noise. It emerges in the absence of it. The mind must be still before the light of wisdom can shine through. There is a silent resistance that lives inside your thoughts. It dresses itself up as logic, prudence, or preparation, but underneath it is simply fear, trying to disguise itself as reason. This resistance is subtle. It says things like, let me think this through one more time, or maybe if I analyze it differently, the outcome will change. And while you are trapped in that cycle, you delay the very thing you are yearning for. The truth is, life responds not to your thoughts, but to your state of being. The outer world is not reacting to your overthinking. It is mirroring the tension you hold within. If your thoughts are filled with pressure, doubt, and worry, your world will reflect that same constriction. You cannot experience freedom while internally clinging to resistance. It is easy to believe that thinking equals control and control equals security. But this belief is the very reason so many people feel powerless. Because true power does not come from thinking about what you want. It comes from becoming what you want. And becoming is a state of consciousness, not a state of constant mental effort. When you think too much about a desire, you often trap it in the future. You make it separate from you. You see it as something you must chase, reach, or earn. And that sense of separation becomes a barrier. But when you stop thinking and simply dwell in the feeling of already having it, the separation dissolves. You merge with the desire. You become it. And what you become must find its way to you. Resistance has a sneaky way of convincing you that if you stop thinking about your goals, you are giving up on them. But letting go of mental obsession is not surrendering the dream. It is surrendering the doubt. It is saying, I no longer need to solve this through effort. I now allow it to unfold through alignment. That shift from effort to allowance is the very moment your world begins to move. The universe does not respond to desperation. It responds to calm certainty. And certainty does not arise from overthinking. It comes from knowing that what you've imagined is already real. Every time you overanalyze your circumstances, you give them more power than they deserve. You keep your attention fixed on the appearance of lack, the appearance of delay, the appearance of struggle. And because attention is creative, you reinforce that reality. But the moment you stop giving energy to those thoughts, the pattern begins to dissolve. The old story loses its power. A new reality can then emerge, not because you forced it through mental willpower, but because you created space for it to rise. Overthinking clogs the channel between you and your manifestation. Stillness clears it. Your mind is like a lens through which the world is projected. If that lens is clouded by worry, everything appears distorted. But when the lens is clean, the image becomes clear. That clarity does not require more thought. It requires less. The problem is not that you are not thinking enough. The problem is that you are thinking too much and feeling too little. The mind screams, but the truth whispers. And to hear the whisper, you must quiet the noise. There is deep wisdom in stepping away from the urge to fix everything. In doing so, you actually allow everything to fall into place. You create room for divine intelligence to move. When you stop interfering with mental resistance, you allow the invisible forces to do their work. The same way you don't tell your heart to beat or your lungs to breathe. You don't need to tell the universe how to bring your desires. Your only task is to assume the state of already having. And the state of having is incompatible with resistance. You cannot be in possession and in pursuit at the same time. You must choose. To stop thinking doesn't mean to stop caring. It means you care enough to step into trust. It means you love your desire enough to stop doubting it. When you stop analyzing every step and every outcome, you give space for intuition to rise. You make room for a knowing beyond logic. That knowing says, "This is mine, even if I don't see it yet." That knowing moves mountains not by force but by faith. You are not meant to live in mental combat. You are not meant to carry the burden of every future moment in your present thoughts. The more you think from a place of fear, the more tangled the energy becomes. But the more you rest in acceptance, the more fluid and natural the unfolding. Let go of the urge to think your way through life. Feel your way instead. Rest your mind and open your heart. The solutions you seek will not be born from restless thought, but from the peace that surpasses understanding. There comes a point when you realize that thinking is just the surface. It is not where creation truly happens. Creation happens below thought, in the silent chamber of assumption, in the quiet womb of belief. That is the sacred place where reality is formed, and the door to that place is open not through noise but through stillness. The thoughts will try to pull you back. The mind will beg to keep solving, but you must learn to rise above it, not by fighting your thoughts, but by no longer feeding them. Let them pass like clouds in the sky. Let them dissolve as you return again and again to the feeling that it is already done. Let go of the mental resistance. Breathe, be still, and watch how the world begins to shift. Imagination is not a daydream. It is not a child's game nor a passive escape from reality. It is the very substance from which your world is made. Every building, every invention, every success story began as a picture in someone's mind before it ever took shape in the world. Imagination is the seed of all creation, but for imagination to do its work, the soil must be calm. It cannot flourish in a storm of anxiety or bloom under the pressure of constant mental noise. A relaxed state of being is the most fertile ground for imagination. In that state, you are no longer struggling to control life. You are cooperating with the unseen power that creates worlds. You become a partner in creation, not a prisoner of circumstance. When you are relaxed, your imagination opens up like a window to the infinite. In stillness, your inner eye becomes clear. You are able to see with feeling, to touch with thought, to live in the unseen, as though it were already here. And in that sacred moment, you are no longer imagining as a wish, you are imagining as reality. That shift is everything. To imagine while anxious is to hold the desire in a cage. It becomes something far away, something you are hoping for. But to imagine from rest is to enter the state of already having. You become it inwardly. And that inner becoming sets the wheels in motion for outer manifestation. You must understand that imagination is not bound by logic or time. It moves freely beyond the limitations of the physical world. It does not require evidence. It does not seek permission. It simply creates. And when your body is at ease, when your breath is steady and your thoughts are soft, your imagination becomes potent. It stops being a tool of escape and becomes a vehicle of embodiment. In that moment, you stop thinking about the desire and you start living from it. You walk in the state of the fulfilled wish. You feel the emotions as though the thing you desire has already happened. That feeling, that emotional conviction, is what imprints itself onto reality. The challenge is that many people try to force imagination from a tense place. They try to visualize harder or focus more, thinking that mental effort will speed up results. But imagination is not a muscle to strain. It is a portal to surrender through. The more relaxed you are, the more vivid the images become. The more calm you feel, the more real the scene feels. You cannot fake this. You cannot pretend to feel peace while holding tension in your chest. The body must agree with the mind. The feeling must match the picture. That harmony is what speaks to the universe in its native language. When you sit quietly, in silence, and let the picture rise effortlessly within you, not from want, but from fullness, you are entering the creative realm. You are telling the unseen, "This is who I am now." And that declaration does not need words. It is spoken through stillness. Imagination works like a mirror. If you hold an image while feeling restless or doubtful, the mirror returns a distorted version of your desire. But if you hold an image while being relaxed and sure, the mirror reflects it back clearly and faithfully. This is why you must value your inner state more than the outer evidence. Your outer world only confirms what your inner world has accepted as truth. To imagine from a relaxed state is to embody the faith that what you desire already exists. You no longer beg the world to change. You no longer demand signs. You no longer chase proof. You simply rest in knowing. And that rest is not passive. It is the most powerful form of action. Because from that place, your imagination becomes alive. You feel the texture of the life you're creating. You hear the sound, see the details, experience the emotion, and your whole being starts to align with it. That alignment begins to influence your decisions, your energy, your perception, without even realizing it. You begin to move as someone who already has what they once only dreamed about. The world is not responding to your desires, it is responding to your assumptions. And assumptions live in the feeling of already being. Imagination gives you access to that feeling before anything has appeared in the physical. But for the imagination to be accepted by the deeper layers of your consciousness, you must be relaxed. You must stop trying to manipulate the outcome. Stop questioning if it's working. Stop needing it to come in a specific way. Let your imagination do the work in silence, in stillness. Trust the process. The more you trust, the more clearly you see. The more you relax, the more quickly it comes. Imagination is not delayed by the world, it is delayed by your resistance. And resistance often shows up as overthinking, as trying to get the image right, or trying to feel more intensely than you naturally do. Let that go. Sit back. Take a breath. Let the scene rise effortlessly in your mind. Don't force it. Let it be light, like a dream that feels so real you can taste it. Stay there, feel it, rest in it. And then carry that feeling with you throughout your day, not with effort, but with ease. Let the feeling live in your body. Let it become part of your natural rhythm. And as you do, the universe moves quietly, invisibly, faithfully, to bring your inner world into outer form. You are not imagining to make something happen. You are imagining because it is already done. The relaxed state is your signal to the universe that you trust this truth, that you are no longer bound by appearances, that you have chosen your reality and now dwell in it inwardly. And once you dwell in it inwardly, the world must conform. Not through your force, but through your alignment. Not by chance, but by law. The law that says what you assume in rest, you will live in reality. Let your imagination work freely by resting deeply. Let it be the painter of your future. Let the picture rise gently in the quiet of your soul, and let that quiet speak louder than all the noise the world could offer. You are not here to become something you are not. You are here to remember what you've always been. And that truth, that divine identity, is hidden beneath all the layers of seeking, striving, and struggling. The reason most people feel disconnected from their desires is because they've placed them outside of themselves as things to chase rather than states to embody. But the moment you stop chasing and begin being, the distance collapses. You no longer stand apart from what you want. You stand inside it. You are no longer the seeker. You become the fulfilled. That is the secret. You already are what you seek. The illusion of lack is created the moment you believe something is missing. You look at your life and you measure it against your desires, and if the outer reality doesn't match the picture in your mind, you label yourself as incomplete. You begin to believe that you must do more, achieve more, work harder, wait longer. And in that belief, you separate yourself from the very thing you long for. You place it on a distant pedestal and give it power over you. But all of that changes the moment you shift from wanting to being. When you feel the desire already fulfilled within you, when you act, think, and live as if you already have it, you step into alignment with it. You no longer chase after it in the outer world. You express it from the inner world. The transformation begins not when the circumstances change, but when the inner identity changes. It is the inner self-concept that governs the outer experience. You may say you want love, abundance, success, or peace. But if you continue to see yourself as someone without those things, you will unconsciously block them from arriving. You cannot hold the belief of lack and receive the fullness of the blessing. There must be a change in the root at the level of identity. You must say to yourself with full conviction, I am already this. I already have this. I already am this. And you must say it not with words alone, but with your feelings, your thoughts, your posture, your silence. You must inhabit the version of you who already lives in the end result. This is not imagination for the sake of escape. This is imagination as the blueprint of your new life. When you walk in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, your energy changes. Your perception shifts. You stop responding to life from fear or deficiency. You begin to operate from confidence, peace, and wholeness. And in doing so, your choices start to reflect this new state. You speak differently, you move differently, you even breathe differently. The world senses this shift, and because reality mirrors your state of consciousness, it adjusts itself to match the inner change. What once felt out of reach now flows to you effortlessly because you are no longer resisting it through the identity of lack. The process is not about acquiring, it's about aligning. When you sit in stillness and feel the reality of your desire as though it is already here, you are not playing a game of pretend. You are claiming your spiritual authority. You are stepping into the divine truth that all things are already yours. In that moment, you are no longer a victim of time or conditions. You are a creator. And your creation is not bound by what your eyes see. It is shaped by what your heart knows. That knowing says, this is already done. I am not waiting for it. I am welcoming it. There is a deep and profound difference between wanting and knowing. Wanting implies distance. It says, I don't have it yet. Knowing says, it's already mine. The outer world may still appear unchanged, but you no longer look to it for confirmation. You look within. You feel the truth. And in that feeling, you trust. That trust is not passive. It is not wishful thinking. It is a powerful, creative force. It is the ground from which manifestation takes root and grows. The more you dwell in this identity, the more natural it becomes. What once felt like a dream begins to feel like a memory. Because in the higher reality, it is already done. You are not here to chase outcomes. You are here to embody outcomes. Every time you speak, think, and act from the end, you affirm your divine connection to it. You align yourself with the version of reality where your desire is already fulfilled. That version exists, not in the future, but now, in this present moment, in this exact space of awareness. You do not need to earn it. You do not need to fight for it. You only need to choose it and rest in it. The moment you do, the outer world begins to bend. It rearranges itself around your inner assumption, because assumption is the law. You assume and then you experience. When you wake up in the morning and choose to carry the feeling of the person who already has what you want, your energy becomes magnetic. You no longer look around asking, when will it happen? Because you already feel it has. You no longer compare, beg, or worry. Instead, you radiate peace. You walk with confidence. You stop explaining yourself. You stop overthinking. You simply live as the version of you that has already arrived. That inner arrival is the key. Once you've arrived inwardly, the outer must follow. It has no choice. The outer world is not deciding for you, it is listening to you. It is shaped not by your effort, but by your embodiment. An embodiment begins with belief, not just a surface belief, but a deep, resonant belief that says, I am already whole, already complete, already living the life I once hoped for. You are not fooling yourself when you live from the end. You are freeing yourself from the illusion of limitation. You are stepping beyond appearances and aligning with the truth that everything already exists, and it comes to those who stop asking and start assuming. You are already it. You are already there. Let that truth sink into your breath, your body, your silence. Let it become the background of every step you take. When you walk with that knowing, you won't need to force anything. You won't need to rush or panic. Life will flow to you not because you chased it, but because you became the version of yourself who naturally receives it. And in that becoming, you discover the truth you always knew deep down you were never without. You simply had to stop chasing and start being. Faith is not a mental exercise. It is not the result of argument or persuasion. It is a quiet knowing that rises from the stillness of your being and declares, it is already done. It does not require external proof. It does not ask for validation. It does not wait for circumstances to align before it believes. Faith is the willingness to rest in what you cannot yet see and to move in the world as though you already possess it. And this kind of faith requires no mental effort. It is not forged in struggle. It is born in surrender. The moment you stop trying so hard to believe, you begin to trust. And in trust, all things are possible. So many people confuse faith with thinking positively or repeating affirmations with force, as if sheer repetition could bend reality. But real faith is not loud. It does not come from mental pressure. It does not beg or plead or demand. It is soft, still, and calm. It is that deep, unwavering presence within you that says, I don't need to know how. I only need to know that it already is. And in that space, you stop trying to make it happen. You stop trying to control the process. You relax, not because you've given up, but because you finally understand how the universe works. The truth is, you don't have to believe harder. You simply have to stop doubting. Doubt is the only barrier between you and what you desire. It is not lack of effort that holds you back. It is the resistance created by trying to force belief when your soul is already certain. You were never meant to manufacture faith through mental strain. Faith arises naturally when the mind is quiet and the heart is open. In stillness, you remember that what you seek is already seeking you, that the path has already been made, and your job is only to walk it, not to build it. You do not need to think your way into trust. You feel your way into it. You feel your way into that place where the desire already exists, where the dream is already real. And once you feel it real, you let go of the need to prove anything to yourself or anyone else. You simply rest. You rest in the knowledge that the unseen is more real than the seen, that the invisible is not absence but presence in a higher form. And that presence responds not to panic or performance, but to peace. Faith is the courage to stop rehearsing disaster and start rehearsing fulfillment. It is the discipline to hold the inner vision steady even when the outer world gives no sign. It is the refusal to engage with appearances that contradict your inner knowing. You are not being asked to move mountains. You are being asked to feel what it would be like if the mountain were already moved. And then, in that feeling, to rest, to walk with grace, to speak from assurance, to stop striving and begin living as though your prayer has already been answered. Mental effort is often a mask for fear. It says, if I think hard enough, maybe I can control the outcome. But control is not power. Surrender is. Power is born when you release the need to figure it all out and allow the current of life to carry you. When you stop mentally wrestling with how, when, and through whom your desire will come, you give space for the divine order to unfold. And that unfolding always begins in rest, in the quiet, confident, relaxed knowing that you are exactly where you need to be, and what is yours cannot miss you. You do not have to keep reminding yourself of what you already believe. When something becomes a part of you, you no longer need to repeat it. You live it, you breathe it, you radiate it. That is the mark of true faith. Not anxious reminders, but effortless being. You walk into rooms differently. You carry a calm that others can feel. You no longer grasp at life, you allow it. And in that allowing, everything comes. Not because you chased it, but because you finally made room for it to arrive. Let go of the idea that faith is hard. It is only hard when you're trying to generate it from the mind. But real faith does not come from the mind. It comes from a place beyond thought, a place deeper than reason. It is the voice within that whispers, "You're already home," even when everything around you says you're lost. And when you listen to that voice, when you follow it, you begin to see evidence of what you've known all along, not because your effort made it happen, but because your trust made it visible. Every time you feel the need to try harder, take a step back. Ask yourself, what would I do if I already had it? How would I feel if it were already mine? Then go there, not with force, but with surrender. Not with effort, but with ease. Let that feeling carry you. Let it settle into your bones. Let it become your resting place. And from that place, life will rise to meet you in ways you never expected. The things you were chasing will start chasing you. The doors you were knocking on will swing open before you arrive, not because you pushed them open, but because you carried the key all along. You don't need to prove your faith. You only need to live it. You don't need to shout your belief, you only need to dwell in the vibration of the fulfilled desire. In that space, miracles are normal. Synchronicities are expected. Delays become irrelevant, and time loses its grip on you. Because when you live in the end, when you rest in the feeling that it is already done, you rise above time, above circumstance. This is where your power truly lies, not in your ability to think your way through life, but in your willingness to rest in what is already yours, to stop arguing with reality and start creating from the deeper truth. That truth says, you already have it, you already are it. Now stop thinking, stop trying, and just rest in the feeling of it being so. Let your silence be your faith. Let your peace be your proof. Let your stillness be your statement to the universe that you no longer need to fight for what's already done. It is finished. It is yours. And now you simply receive. Everything you see, everything you touch, everything you are, at its core is energy. The chair you sit on, the thoughts you think, the emotions you feel, all of it vibrates with a frequency that aligns with the invisible patterns of consciousness. The world does not move because of action. It moves because of imagination. The substance behind all appearances is not matter, but mind, shaped, molded, and colored by belief. There is no need to strain. Nothing in this universe responds to effort. What you strive to force resists you. What you allow through inner acceptance, through restful knowing, reveals itself with ease. Creation is finished. That which you desire already exists in the unseen realm. You do not create it through effort. You align with it through feeling. Feel it real. That is the secret. All things are drawn to you not by chance, but by the vibration you offer through your awareness. You are not here to beg for manifestations. You are here to recognize that all things are already yours if you can simply assume their reality. There is no waiting in this eternal now. There is only alignment. There is only the acceptance that what you long for is already yours in the field of infinite possibility. The world out there is nothing more than a mirror. It reflects back the state you dwell in. When you occupy a state of peace, the world becomes peaceful. When you walk in abundance internally, the world begins to show signs of provision. The reflection changes not because you manipulate the mirror, but because you shift within. You do not need to chase anything. You need only dwell in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. You do not earn energy, you embody it. The invisible is far more powerful than the visible. Thought and feeling are the blueprint of form. That is why rest is the highest act of faith, To rest in the knowing that what you desire is already on its way is to acknowledge the truth of your creative power. The moment you relax, the moment you let go of worry, is the moment energy begins to arrange itself to match your inner conviction. Imagine with intention. Feel with sincerity. Let the thing you desire become so real to you inwardly that the world cannot help but catch up. That is the law. That is the nature of energy. It responds not to words but to states of being. Your world is not reacting to what you say or wish for, it is reacting to what you are. So be that which you seek. Walk as if it is done. Rest, knowing the unseen is more potent than the seen. There is no battle to win. The moment you accept the end in imagination, the means arrange themselves. You are not the victim of circumstances, you are the operant power. All energy responds to the command of inner assumption. And when you finally relax, when you let go of effort and rest in the feeling of fulfillment, the universe obeys you without question. Everything you perceive, everything you experience, and everything you call real is energy vibrating at different frequencies. What appears solid, what you can touch and hold, is simply condensed energy. A field of vibration slowed down so it can be sensed with the physical body. But beneath the surface of all appearances lies a more fundamental truth. There is no separation between matter and mind. Everything is energy. And energy is shaped, molded, and guided by the awareness that beholds it. Your consciousness is not a bystander in this process. It is the central force directing the flow of energy into form. This entire universe is alive with invisible forces that respond to the movement of your thoughts and emotions. The table in your room, the car you drive, the people you meet, all of them are manifestations of energy that have taken shape in accordance with invisible laws. These laws are not mechanical or external. They are deeply personal and operate through your own awareness. You may think the world happens to you, but in truth, the world unfolds through you, your assumptions, your beliefs, your inner states. They are the blueprints through which energy takes on form and becomes the life you live. There is no such thing as inert matter. What seems lifeless and fixed is alive at a deeper level. Every particle dances in relationship to a greater whole, responding not just to the physical forces around it, but to the subtle influence of thought, intention, and emotion. You do not have to push against the world to change it. You only need to realize that you are already influencing it, constantly, through the thoughts you repeat, the images you entertain, and the states you dwell in. Energy is responsive. It has no will of its own. It simply reflects the vibration it is given. You do not observe a world that exists apart from you. You participate in the creation of that world through the lens of your consciousness. What you believe to be true begins to manifest, not because the world is listening, but because energy must arrange itself to reflect your inner acceptance. This is not a metaphor or a poetic idea, it is a spiritual law. If you feel poor, life will organize itself to reflect that feeling. If you feel abundant, the same law will bring abundance into view. The law is always at work. It is impersonal, precise, and responsive to your inner state. Your senses deceive you when they suggest that things are fixed or final. What you see is the echo of what you have previously believed. The outer world is always a step behind the inner world. Thought precedes form. Emotion precedes event. Assumption precedes manifestation. That is why the most important work you can do is not in the outer world, but in the inner realm of imagination. There, all things are fluid, changeable, and limitless. And it is from that sacred space that energy takes direction. Energy is shaped by attention. Where your focus goes, energy flows. When you dwell on lack, you energize lack. When you contemplate love, you energize love. Every image you hold with conviction, every belief you accept as true, every emotion you dwell in long enough, all of these become instructions written into the invisible substance of life. This substance does not argue, it does not resist. It simply conforms to the command it receives. And the only command it understands is the one you give through sustained feeling and focused imagination. The greatest illusion is the idea that you are separate from the world you experience. The truth is, the world flows from within you. You are not a passive observer. You are a powerful creator, constantly radiating energy into the field of experience. And this energy does not go out aimlessly. It goes out with form, with color, with intention. Whether you do so consciously or unconsciously, you are directing energy every moment of your life. The question is not whether you are creating, but whether you are creating deliberately or by default. Imagination is the gateway through which energy enters form. What you can imagine with conviction, you can experience in reality. This is not about fantasy or wishful thinking. It is about the recognition that energy responds to belief, not effort. If you see yourself as healthy, whole, successful, even when appearances suggest otherwise, energy begins to rearrange to match that vision. The key is inner conviction. The more you dwell in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, the more powerful your creative signal becomes. There is no need to analyze how things will unfold. The how is never your concern. Your only task is to enter the state where the desired outcome already exists. Energy does not require you to figure it all out. It only requires that you align with the vibration of what you seek. When you embody the feeling of success, success must appear. When you live in the feeling of love, love must come. It is not optional, because energy has no will to resist. It only mirrors what is placed before it. Even the body you inhabit is energy. Every cell, every organ, every heartbeat is animated by a deeper force that responds to thought and feeling. The body is not separate from the mind. It is the outpicturing of what the mind accepts as true. That is why healing begins within. That is why transformation starts in thought. If you change your self-concept, the energy that forms your life will change accordingly. Nothing in your life is fixed. Everything is energy, waiting to be redefined by your awareness. There is no external source you must wait on. No person, condition, or circumstance has the power to create for you. All power is within. The same force that animates the stars and holds the planets in motion animates your being. It does not favor one person over another. It flows freely, responding only to the pattern of thought and feeling you choose to entertain. You are not small, and you are not powerless. You are made of the same creative essence as the universe itself. The only question is whether you will awaken to it. The moment you stop identifying with limitation, the energy around you begins to shift. The moment you stop repeating the story of lack, the field responds with new opportunities. The moment you stop affirming separation, connection becomes real. This is the power you hold. Not because you try harder, not because you deserve more, but because you are already connected to the energy of all that is. You do not need permission to create. You only need to claim what already belongs to you by divine right. Energy is infinite. There is no lack in the universe except the one you imagine into being. There is no restriction except the beliefs you continue to accept. Everything is available, everything is possible, but to receive it you must first become it in thought. You must think from the state of your desire, not toward it. You must move into the vibration where the thing you seek is already yours, not someday. Now, because energy responds to present tense awareness, not future hopes. The more you try, the more you push, the more you strive from a place of desperation or urgency, the more resistance you create. The nature of energy is flow. It responds not to struggle, but to alignment. When you relax, you come into harmony with what you desire. When you stop chasing and begin allowing, you open the door for manifestation. Nothing real is forced. Everything true arises effortlessly when you match the frequency of your desire through inner stillness and certainty. You have been conditioned to believe that success comes through effort, that results are earned through action, and that desire must be achieved by doing. But that is the illusion of the material world, the game of appearances. The deeper reality is that everything you seek already exists in the invisible field of energy. It is not your job to create it from nothing. It is your task to align with it by entering the state where it already is. You do not need to build the bridge. The bridge is built by your state of consciousness. When you occupy the right state, life moves to meet you. This is why relaxation is not weakness. It is wisdom. To relax is to trust that the universe already knows what you want and is already delivering it. To relax is to surrender the need to control the outcome and instead dwell in the feeling that it is already handled. That feeling of certainty, of calm knowing, is the most powerful state you can occupy. It is the vibration that magnetizes all things to you, because it reflects the truth that creation is finished. Your role is not to struggle to make it happen. Your role is to live from the awareness that it is already done. Every time you struggle, you are affirming that what you desire is absent. Every time you force something to happen, you are reinforcing the belief that it cannot come on its own. But energy does not respond to your need, it responds to your frequency. And the frequency of effort is tension, doubt, and fear. The frequency of relaxation is trust, acceptance, and inner knowing. That is why those who seem effortless in their success are often the ones who manifest the most. They are not trying to make it happen. They are simply living in the end. And the world must adjust. The more you relax, the more clearly you can hear the quiet voice within. It is that voice which guides you, not through force, but through inspiration. Inspired action arises from rest, not from panic. When you are still, when you are not rushing, the right idea appears. The right opportunity presents itself. The next step becomes obvious. This is the nature of co-creation. It is not about planning everything from the outside. It is about tuning into the inner world, where energy responds with precision to the frequency you maintain. You do not have to force your way forward. The path unfolds when you stop resisting the present moment. Most people are so busy running from where they are that they never fully arrive in the now. And yet it is only in the now that you can shift your state. It is only in the now that you can align with the reality you seek. When you relax, you stop postponing your good into the future and begin to live in the vibration where it already exists. The outer world may not reflect it immediately, but that does not matter. Energy moves first, form follows after. When you understand that effort is not what brings things to you, you begin to use your energy more wisely. You stop chasing and start allowing. You stop worrying and start trusting. And in that shift, everything begins to change. You speak differently, you walk differently, you see through the eyes of someone who knows it is already theirs. This shift does not require physical effort. It requires mental surrender. It requires you to stop trying so hard to make it happen and instead assume it has already happened. There is a natural rhythm to all things. When you fight against it, you create resistance. When you move with it, you experience ease. Nature never rushes, and yet everything gets accomplished. The seed becomes the tree, not through force, but through alignment with the soil, the sun, and the seasons. You are no different. When you rest in the knowing that all things unfold in perfect timing, you release the tension that blocks your blessings. You open yourself to the natural flow of life, where all things come to pass, not by might, but by inner alignment. The world is full of people taking massive action without results, and others doing very little but receiving everything. The difference is not in effort, it is in vibration. Those who receive have already become the thing they seek. They live from the state of their desire fulfilled. They do not beg life for outcomes, they embody the outcome in consciousness. That embodiment is what brings it into form. And the only way to embody a thing is to relax into it, to feel the joy, the peace, the satisfaction of it before it arrives. Action is not the cause of your reality, it is the effect. When you are aligned within, the action you take becomes inspired, efficient, and powerful. But when you act from fear, from lack, from urgency, even massive effort cannot produce lasting results. Because effort that comes from lack only magnifies lack. But action that comes from rest, real rest, born from the knowing that it is already yours, creates miracles. This is why it is not laziness to relax. It is spiritual maturity. It is the quiet confidence of someone who knows who they are and what they possess. When you feel the need to force something, pause. Ask yourself what state you are occupying. Are you acting from faith or fear? Are you trying to convince yourself that it will work out, or are you resting in the deep knowing that it already has? The truth is always revealed in how you feel. If your heart is racing, if your mind is full of doubt, if you are out of alignment. But if you are calm, centered, grateful, and at peace, you are in the energy of already having it. And in that state, everything you desire must come to you. The most magnetic energy is the energy of someone who does not need it to happen, because they already feel it real inside. This is the paradox of manifestation. When you stop needing it, you make room for it. When you stop chasing, it starts moving toward you. When you let go, you allow. This is not about giving up on your desire. It is about releasing your grip so that it can breathe, so that it can arrive in the best way possible, guided by intelligence far greater than your conscious mind. Relaxation is alignment. It is the signal that says, I believe. Not because the outer world has proven it, but because your inner world has accepted it. And once accepted internally, energy must bring it to life externally. This is the law. This is the way. And when you finally realize that everything responds not to your effort but to your state of being, you will begin to relax, not because you are giving up, but because you finally understand how powerful you truly are. To assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled is to bypass the limitations of logic and step directly into the frequency where what you desire already exists. It is not about hoping, wishing, or wanting. It is about becoming. When you assume a state, you claim it as your present reality. You don't merely think about it, you feel from it. That distinction changes everything. Thinking of your desire places it outside of you, somewhere in the future. But thinking from your desire brings it inward, into your current identity. And energy responds to identity, not desire. The world you experience is not shaped by what you want. It is shaped by what you are conscious of being. If you are conscious of being in lack, no amount of external striving will bring lasting abundance. If you are conscious of being alone, no effort will truly bridge the gap to connection. But the moment you shift inwardly and assume the feeling that your desire is already yours, you enter a new vibration, a new state of being, and in that state, all things must conform to match it. Feeling is the secret. Thought alone is not enough. You can repeat affirmations endlessly, but if they do not awaken the corresponding feeling within, they remain hollow words. Feeling is what charges thought with creative power. When you feel the joy of your desire fulfilled, you send out a frequency so specific, so precise, that the entire field of energy around you begins to adjust. Circumstances, people, events, these are not random. They are shaped by the emotional tones you consistently dwell in. Imagination is the tool by which you enter the state of the wish fulfilled. It allows you to construct inner scenes that feel more real than the outer world. When you imagine vividly and emotionally, you are impressing a new pattern on the field of consciousness. You are reprogramming the subconscious mind, which accepts whatever is vividly imagined and emotionally felt as true. And once the subconscious accepts a thing, it moves heaven and earth to express it. That is why the inner act is more important than the outer one. Everything begins in consciousness first. You do not need evidence to feel something real. You only need the willingness to believe in the unseen more than you trust the visible. The world you see is old news. It is a printout of your past assumptions. If you wait for something to appear before you feel it, you are living backward. Creation does not work that way. You must feel the thing real before it appears. That is the test. That is the key. And that is the art of living from the end, where the wish is already fulfilled. When you assume a new state, the old state begins to dissolve. The outer world may still show remnants of the past, but do not be fooled. These are shadows, echoes of previous vibrations. Do not react to them. Stay loyal to the new state. Persist in the inner feeling even when the outer world seems unchanged, because the outer must catch up. The seed you plant in imagination grows in silence before it bursts through the soil. The delay is not denial, it is preparation. Stay in the state, trust the process, keep feeling it real. You are not pretending, you are claiming. This is not fantasy, it is creation. When you feel from the end, when you occupy the emotion of fulfillment, you bring the unseen into visibility. Your body begins to behave as though it has already received. Your decisions shift. Your energy shifts. Your vibration becomes a match to the thing you desire. And once there is vibrational alignment, manifestation is inevitable. It does not require more time. It only requires deeper embodiment. The feeling of the wish fulfilled must become your dwelling place. not a fleeting moment, not a brief meditation, but a home. A state you return to again and again until it becomes familiar, until it becomes natural. When it feels more real than your current conditions, you will know the shift has happened. You no longer chase the outcome, you live from it. And from that place, all effort dissolves into flow. The world begins to rearrange itself in ways you could never plan or predict. The more you live in that state, the more you detach from needing the outcome to prove anything. You no longer wait to feel happy, you are happy. You no longer wait to feel free, you are free. And this is the great irony: when you no longer need the thing, you finally allow it. Because you are no longer signaling lack. You are signaling abundance, wholeness, completion. And the universe always reflects the signal you send, not the words you. That is why feeling is the most honest prayer. It bypasses logic and speaks directly to the creative intelligence that governs all things. Even when circumstances seem to contradict your inner feeling, you must hold to it. You must refuse to be swayed by appearances. This is the discipline of faith, not blind belief, but focused awareness. You choose to feel it real even when the world says otherwise. You become deaf to the outer noise and loyal only to the inner vision. That loyalty is what shapes energy. That persistence is what moves mountains. Not through effort, but through assumption. Not through willpower, but through feeling. The moment you assume the state, you become one with it. There is no delay in consciousness. There is only now. If you feel it now, you are it now. And if you are it now, the world must bend to reflect that truth. It may not happen instantly in form, but it is already done in energy. And once it is done in energy, it cannot be undone. Your only task is to remain in the state, to nurture it, to feel it over and over until it becomes your natural frequency. Then, and only then, does the outer world have no choice but to echo your inner conviction. There is no power outside you that determines your fate. Everything flows from within. The law of assumption is simple but profound. You become what you assume yourself to be, not what you wish to be, not what you hope to be, but what you assume. An assumption is not a casual thought. It is a deep felt conviction. It is the emotion that says, this is already mine. That feeling is the creative act. That feeling is the seed. That feeling is the word made flesh. When you live from the end, you collapse the distance between you and your desire. You stop asking, when will it happen, and start living as if it already has. Time becomes irrelevant. Doubt dissolves. You are no longer seeking, you are expressing. No longer waiting, you are receiving. And from this state of being, all things must come, not because you chase them, but because you are already in possession of the only thing that truly matters, the feeling that it is done. You are not here to struggle your way into abundance, happiness, or peace. You are here to remember your natural state. Everything is energy, and you are the one directing it by your assumptions, by your feelings, by your inner conversations. The moment you let go of appearances and trust the invisible world within, you begin to move energy deliberately. You begin to claim your power not by force, but by alignment. Your power does not come from what you do. It comes from the awareness of who you are. And who you are is consciousness itself, creative, limitless, and forever. There is no separation between you and the reality you desire, except the one created by your thoughts and beliefs. If you believe it is far, it becomes far. If you believe it is hard, it becomes hard. If you see yourself as someone trying to get there, you will always be in a state of pursuit, never arrival. But the moment you relax and understand that your consciousness is the only reality, you stop chasing and start choosing. You stop reacting and start imagining. You stop fearing what is and begin living from what can be, what already is in the unseen, waiting to be claimed. Your senses lie. They show you what has already been created, not what is becoming. They are tuned to the past, not to possibility. If you base your reality on what you can see, hear, or touch, you limit yourself to repeating cycles. But when you learn to ignore the senses and rely on the inner vision, the energy you send out becomes clear, focused, and potent. You are not meant to be a slave to the visible world. You are meant to transform it by the power of your unseen state. That state is everything. It is not a reaction to circumstances, it is the cause of them. To command energy is to hold a vision so steady, so unwavering that nothing in the outer world can shake it. The world will test your focus, it will tempt you to doubt, it will flash evidence of your old state to convince you that nothing has changed. But you must remain inwardly unmoved. You must stay true to your inner knowing that what you are imagining is more real than what your eyes can see. That inner loyalty is what bends energy to your will. Not because you are forcing outcomes, but because you are no longer divided. You are no longer sending mixed signals. You are fully aligned. Energy moves where attention goes. Whatever you focus on, you amplify. So if your attention is on problems, you energize them. If your attention is on fear, you strengthen it. But if you shift your focus inward, toward the feeling of already having what you desire, you begin to activate a new frequency. That frequency is not random, it is precise. It tells the entire universe what you believe to be true. And the universe, which is nothing more than a mirror of consciousness, reflects that truth back to you. That is why your feelings matter more than your actions. Energy does not respond to what you do. It responds to who you are being. Your inner world must become more real to you than your outer circumstances. Not because the outer is irrelevant, but because it is delayed. It is the echo of the past. You must plant your flag in the invisible and live as though it were visible. That is what moves energy. That is what collapses time. The greater your emotional involvement with the unseen, the faster it becomes seen. This is not wishful thinking. It is law. It is structure. It is the blueprint of how all things are formed. Energy does not ask questions. It responds to vibration. So if you wish to change your life, do not begin by changing conditions. Begin by changing your assumptions. Begin by changing the story you tell yourself. Begin by changing how you feel in your body when you imagine your future. If there is tension, release it. If there is doubt, replace it with inner dialogue that affirms the new. If there is fear, do not suppress it. See it, thank it, and move beyond it. You are not here to fight with energy. You are here to flow with it, by holding to the truth of your vision, even when everything seems to argue against it. This is the secret that few understand. Your reality is not shaped by effort, it is shaped by assumption. When you assume something deeply enough, your energy shifts. Your thoughts, actions, body language, and decisions all begin to align without force. You naturally embody what you assume to be true, and the world, being a perfect mirror, reflects that embodiment back to you. If you assume lack, lack follows you. If you assume love, love surrounds you. If you assume success, success unfolds before you. And the assumption is not in the mind, it is in the feeling. There is a difference between hoping for something and living from it. Hope is often rooted in the belief that what you want is far away. Living from it means you no longer need to prove it. You just are it. You embody the end result. That is where all power lies. It is in the embodiment of the desired state, not in talking about it, not in thinking about it, but in being it. That state becomes your energetic signature, and the entire universe begins to conform to it. Life does not argue with energy, it responds in perfect harmony. So let go of the struggle. Let go of trying to make things happen. Your power is not in how much you do. It is in how aligned you are with the unseen. It is in how often you return to the state of your wish fulfilled. When you walk, walk from the state. When you speak, speak from the state. When you imagine, imagine from the end. Every moment is an opportunity to reaffirm your new identity. Not with willpower, but with certainty. That certainty relaxes the nervous system. It dissolves resistance. It aligns your entire being with the frequency of what you already possess in the invisible. You are the operant power. Not by force, but by awareness. Not by doing, but by being. And every time you choose to dwell in the inner state, regardless of what the outer world shows, you claim your creative authority. The old dissolves not because you fight it, but because you no longer feed it. The new appears not because you chase it, but because you have already assumed it within. Energy bends to identity, and identity is shaped by feeling. Feel it long enough, real enough, and often enough, and the world will have no choice but to reflect your new vibration. Stillness is not inactivity. It is the highest form of receptivity. When you are still within, you are not disengaged from creation. You are in perfect alignment with it. All true transformation begins in stillness, in the quiet center of your being where there is no striving, no begging, no noise. Energy moves most powerfully. This is not the stillness of emptiness, but the stillness of fullness, the kind that knows without needing to prove, the kind that feels without needing to explain. You do not need to shout at the universe for it to hear you. You only need to whisper through your vibration, and that whisper, born of inner calm, is louder than 1,000 anxious prayers. When you quiet the mind and surrender the struggle, you release the resistance that blocks energy from flowing. The truth is that you do not manifest by force. You allow by resonance. The more you struggle, the more you signal that you do not have. The more you relax, the more you signal that it is already done. Stillness is not laziness. It is supreme confidence. It is the resting posture of the one who knows that all things are already unfolding in their favor, and that there is nothing to chase. Energy cannot be chased, it must be allowed. There comes a moment when the striving must stop. You have prayed, affirmed, visualized, and yet your heart still trembles with the question, when will it come? You looked for signs, for proof, for movement in the outer world, and each moment of silence feels like eternity stretching thin. But I tell you this, the very moment you released the desire in faith, the unseen began to move. The wheels of fulfillment were set in motion the instant your inner conviction was born. What you seek is not on its way. It is already here, quietly unfolding in the unseen, waiting only for you to relax into the knowing of it. You see, the reason you feel unrest is not because your desire is far away, but because your mind is still chasing what your soul already holds. The greatest barrier to manifestation is tension, the invisible grip of doubt that clings to how and when. When you hold a desire too tightly, you strangle its birth. When you watch for evidence, you proclaim unconsciously that it is not yet done, and so you delay what was already promised. Relaxation is faith in motion. To relax is to know that the invisible is more real than what you can touch or see. It is to rest in the certainty that the seed of your wish is already planted in the soil of eternity, and it cannot fail to grow. Imagine a seed planted in the earth. Once covered, the gardener does not dig it up every hour to see if it's sprouting. He knows that the soil is doing its silent work. He waters it, yes, but he does not worry. He trusts the process, because nature never forgets her promise. The same law governs your life. The moment you planted your desire in the imagination, felt it as real, believed it as done, the divine soil began its sacred work. Every condition, every person, every event necessary to its birth began aligning in perfect sequence. You do not need to push. You need only to stay still in the faith that it's already taking shape beneath the surface. But the restless mind is addicted to control. It wants to see before it believes, forgetting that sight always comes after faith, not before. So it keeps checking the clock, counting the days, and measuring progress against illusion. Yet all the while, the unseen order of life is working precisely, perfectly, according to the pattern of your inner state. If your state is peaceful, your world will reflect peace. If your state is anxious, your world will mirror chaos. That is why the most powerful act you can perform after assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled is simply relax. Relaxation is not laziness. It is the posture of power. It is the calm confidence of one who knows that all things are already theirs. It is the quiet joy of one who walks by faith, not by sight. When you truly relax, you release the signal of completion into the universe. You say to life, I have received it already. And the universe, hearing that certainty, rearranges itself to make it so. Close your eyes tonight, not with longing, but with gratitude. Don't pray for it. Thank life that it is already yours. Don't watch for signs. Become the sign. Every breath you take in peace is an act of creation. Every moment you rest in the knowing that it's done, the unseen moves closer into form. Let the world catch up to the conviction that already lives within you. Stop worrying about time. Time only serves the one who believes. Relax, for what you desire is not coming, it's already here. waiting for you to feel at home in its reality. When you begin to live from the awareness that your desire is already yours, everything within you begins to change. Your thoughts slow down, your emotions soften. The struggle that once kept you awake at night fades into quiet assurance. You stop searching for proof because you become the proof. Every movement, every word, every breath begins to carry the vibration of fulfillment. That is the moment the universe recognizes you, not as one who is waiting, but as one who has already received. Your external world is nothing more than a mirror of your internal conversation. If your inner speech is filled with fear, you will see reasons to fear. If your heart whispers it's done, the outer world must echo that certainty back to you. This is the law. Nothing can appear in your world unless it first finds expression in your imagination. You are not waiting for creation to respond. Creation is waiting for you to feel. Once you enter the state of the wish fulfilled, time itself bends around you. People appear, doors open, and coincidences align, not because you forced them to, but because you became the magnetic center of your own reality. Think of the sky before dawn. The stars seem to fade not because they've gone anywhere, but because the light that once concealed the day is finally revealing it. The same is true of your desires. They are not distant objects traveling toward you. They are realities already existing in a higher frequency of consciousness. When your inner light expands, when your faith quiets your fear, you begin to see what was always there. You do not manifest by demanding. It is by surrendering into awareness that the invisible becomes visible. There is a sacred stillness that accompanies true belief. It doesn't rush. It doesn't grasp. It doesn't panic when nothing seems to move. Because it knows that what is unseen is more certain than what is seen. This is why so many people block their own blessings. They pray for what they've already received. They plead for what's already been promised. And their very effort to make it happen declares that it hasn't happened yet. Relaxation corrects this. When you relax, you declare silently, "It is finished." And that declaration, spoken in the language of faith, moves heaven and earth on your behalf. Faith is not noisy. It does not beg. It is quiet, steady, and deeply personal. It walks calmly through storms, smiling when nothing looks right because it knows that appearances are temporary. The faithful one doesn't chase signs, he recognizes them. He doesn't beg for doors to open. He walks as though they already have. And in doing so, he becomes the vibration that attracts every open door he needs. You see, when you live in the end, the journey unfolds effortlessly. The tension dissolves, and what once felt impossible becomes inevitable. The great secret is that everything is finished in the invisible realm. Your job is not to make it happen, but to become aware that it already has. When you assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you're not creating something new. You're tuning into the reality that already exists. Just as you don't create a radio station, you simply tune to its frequency. You must align your inner frequency with the reality of your desire, and the tuning dial is your feeling. Feel as though it is already yours, and you will experience its echo in the physical world. The challenge, however, is remaining faithful when nothing yet appears to have changed. This is where most people waver. They begin in faith but end in doubt because they trust the evidence of their senses more than the certainty of their spirit. But understand this: every delay is mercy in disguise. Every silence is alignment. Life is not punishing you, it is arranging itself perfectly to meet you at the exact vibration you hold. You cannot rush divine timing, but you can align with it by being still and trusting that the process is already complete. The universe is never late. It moves at the speed of your belief. The stronger your inner knowing, the quicker reality conforms. And if it seems to take long, it's not because the law has failed. It's because your own restlessness keeps resetting the vibration. Every time you doubt, you plant a new seed that contradicts the last. That's why you must relax, not as an act of waiting, but as an act of knowing. To relax is to remain faithful to the unseen when the world screams otherwise. So tonight, when you close your eyes, don't rehearse the problem. Don't replay the past or worry about the future. Instead, enter the scene of your fulfilled desire. Feel it until it feels real. Touch it in your mind until the thought of it brings peace rather than longing, and then drift into sleep with gratitude, not hope. Gratitude is the sign that it is already done. The one who hopes believes it might happen. The one who thanks believes it already has. Relax. You've already set the law in motion. Nothing can stop what has been conceived in faith. What is yours is not lost, not delayed, not uncertain. It is already coming through the veil of time to meet you. All you must do now is allow. When you live in the knowing that what you asked for is already yours, something extraordinary begins to happen. You start to see divine patterns everywhere. A word from a stranger, a song that plays at the perfect moment, a door that opens without effort. These are not coincidences, they are confirmations. Life begins to mirror your belief back to you in subtle and powerful ways. The universe is conversation. It speaks in symbols, synchronicities, and sensations. But it only speaks clearly to the one who is quiet enough to listen. That is why relaxation is so vital, because only a still mind can hear the whisper of divine movement. The restless mind is blind to miracles. It's too busy measuring, analyzing, worrying. It wants to know the path before taking the first step. But faith is not about sight. It is about trust. When you relax, you give life permission to surprise you. You stop needing to figure out how, and instead you align with the truth that it already is. What you desire already exists in a higher dimension of consciousness. Your job is to match that vibration, not to chase it. That's why peace is not weakness, it's alignment. Every time you rest in assurance, you broadcast the signal of completion, and the universe responds with precision. Consider the river. It doesn't struggle to reach the sea. It flows naturally, guided by gravity, shaped by the landscape, moving effortlessly toward its destination. It never doubts whether the ocean is there. It knows that its very nature guarantees the meeting. The same is true of you. Your desire is the ocean calling the river home. It pulls you, guides you, shapes you through circumstances and experiences until you become ready to merge with the fulfillment you imagine. The resistance you feel is not punishment, it's preparation. The current is teaching you to let go of control and trust the flow of divine timing. The greatest work you can do is inner stillness. The outer world rushes, but your power lies in calm certainty. When everyone else panics, you breathe. When others complain, you remain thankful. When the world seems dark, you carry light. That's how you prove your faith, not by effort, but by embodiment. You don't chase your dream, you become it. You walk, talk, think, and feel as though it has already manifested. This is not pretending, it's remembering. Remembering that your imagination is the womb of creation, and everything you see was once unseen. People will not understand your peace. They will ask how you can remain calm when nothing seems to work. But you will know the truth, that appearances lie. The world of form is slow, delayed, and always behind the unseen. By the time something appears, it has already been accepted within. That's why your peace is prophetic. It sees what others cannot yet see. When you feel the reality of your desire within, the world must bend to make it true. It cannot resist your faith, because your faith is the creative power itself clothed in human form. So relax. Do not wrestle with the invisible. Do not fight what is already working for you. Life does not need your anxiety, it needs your agreement. Agree with the vision you hold. Agree with the good you have imagined. Refuse to entertain any image that contradicts your fulfillment. Every time you catch yourself doubting, gently return to the feeling of peace. Don't force it, don't beg for it. Just breathe and remind yourself, it is done. That one phrase, spoken with conviction, carries more power than hours of desperate prayer. Because true prayer is not pleading with God to act. It's communing with the truth that He already has. The moment you enter that state of calm assurance, you shift timelines. You move from striving to receiving, from waiting to being.